Yo, welcome back to I'll Be Damned. Go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Aunt Jordan.
Tenor T. Wormsley, police officer with the city of Coppell.
Chad, again.
Meet Nicole.
Sir Charles.
And we will be talking about pretty much our relationship with civilians and law enforcement, and also not domestic violence. I'm sorry, police brutality. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the topic with you, of course, because you law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
How many years you been with law enforcement?
It's coming up on 18 years.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's been a minute. I actually did not know that.
Yeah, 18 years of police, 3 years of military.
Oh, cool. Okay, so with that 18 years of experience, have you seen some bad interaction with civilians and law enforcement?
Most definitely.
Is there any in particular you can kind of pinpoint at, like, some of the worst interactions you've seen?
I will say this. When I think of those times, I did have the pleasure of working with two departments.
Okay.
I started out my career in the city of Copper Cove, which is right next to Fort Hood, shortly after my military career.
Okay.
So, at that time, it was right after Katrina happened, and it was really jumping. It was pretty hectic. But something I noticed, whether it's the city of Copper Cove or the city of Capella, which is where I work now, the correlation that I can wedge between both is the egos.
As far as officer or civilian?
Both.
Both. Okay.
However, as an officer, you're supposed to have a professional standard that's above that. And oftentimes our buttons and our triggers are pushed. No excuse. But when the ego gets involved, no matter what the situation is, no matter how small or how big it may be, that's when it escalates and things turn totally chaotic.
So, for example, say you're in the hood, right? Say you're in Oak Cliff. Is it easier for someone that's from that neighborhood of that ethnic background to police those areas?
Yes and no. So I would say yes because I'm from that area, but I've also met other police officers who were not from that type of area, but they wanted to be a part of the community, so they just engaged themselves in it, and that's possible.
Right.
You know, I didn't grow up in a city like Capel, but once I arrived here, I made it my duty to make sure I became a part of the community to see how I can best serve them.
Right.
You know, it's hard to serve a customer that you're not in tune with.
Right.
So, and that's the responsibility of the officer.
Right.
Is to interject his or herself within that community so they can see how their service is going to be of best need.
Do you find a lot of officers doing that though? Like doing their research, getting to know the community?
Have the same mindset as
Honestly.
you, basically, yeah.
I would say the majority will have the intent, but the issue lies in the courage to do so. Okay, you know, that saying goes, it was good intentions paved on the way to hell, right?
Right.
So unless we have these intentions actually put into action, then we're gonna have some of the situations that we've witnessed throughout the entire country, you know? And it's only because those intentions were not put into place.
So, or just
Yeah, I have a quick follow-up question to that. Is there any training or from departments themselves that promote community policing like that and encourage that? And if not, do you believe that if those were implemented, it would help officers go from intent to actually executing?
The training, yes. So here's the cool thing about me. I have a unique position with my tenure because I kind of have some old school teaching, and I'm moving forward within the new school of teaching. And the reason why I say that is because I can say the pendulum is starting to switch. Okay.
And could you tell us the difference between the old school and the new
Yes.
school? Okay.
The old school kick ass, take names.
Got it.
Right.
And if you didn't do so, that's you were looked upon as being not a valuable asset. Okay, you were that's how you define your career.
A little more aggressive.
Yeah, not only the more aggressive in reference to a physical being, but a statistical being, meaning that, you know, if I didn't have 100 arrests, they was like, bro, what you been doing?
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
you know,
Oh,
and with that being a driven factor in law enforcement, it will encourage the ability to have, what's the word? For me to be able to have my own decision on how I'm going to allow this particular outcome to be, it take away that discretion. Okay, officers are given a lot of discretion. It's only 2 laws within the Texas Penal Code in which we don't have discretion. And what I mean is, all the laws say that you may. You may. It's only 2 laws that says that you shall arrest. The other law says that you may, and one of them is not an arrest. It says you shall document. Okay. The one that says you shall document is any instance that involves family violence. You shall document. You know. And now, that doesn't mean someone has to go to jail. But the only one that says you have to arrest is in the violation of a protective order. It says you shall. So, unfortunately, I had that incident at the school, and the gentleman he said he wanted to fight, but he didn't want that. But he was highly upset. But I tried to explain to him, this is not because I just want to take you to jail today. I would honestly prefer that you're able to go home.
Right.
But unfortunately, the law doesn't allow me this discretion. So you
So
have
some
to,
laws, you just got to do it.
that and
Those two.
that and the at the direction of a judge or a magistrate. If a magistrate walks in and say, "Hey, take him to jail, take her to jail," I have to.
Yeah.
But that's because that's what the law says.
Have you ever been put in a situation where somebody had said take him to jail, but you were hesitant because of the situation that the person was, you know, something innocent, or the person didn't do anything wrong?
Yeah. I've
And you just like, what? I gotta take this person to jail.
so that instance is not really coming to my head, but I just remember more so the confrontation.
Yeah.
And the confrontation was because here we are in front of a suspect arguing as officers. But even though I've been doing this 18 years, one of the worst things I hate doing is taking somebody to jail. You're taking a liberty.
Right.
There's nothing cool about that.
But a lot of officers feel like that it is.
Well-
like they can't wait to take somebody to jail. They love having that power and authority to do that. So when they get around certain people, they like, I'm taking you to jail. It's not like, hey, what did you do? Let's come to a resolution to where if you don't have to go to jail, I'm not necessarily
And
going
then-
to take you to jail.
And sometimes we don't have the time to have that dialogue,
Yeah.
to figure that stuff out. And sometimes there are pressing situations in which someone has to be removed from the home, and having them sit in jail for the night will be the best option.
Right.
But a lot of times, and this is one of the things about officers, that when we look at situations, we don't really take them into account. We are required to make life-changing decisions
100%.
with a split-second option.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why it's important that, I mean, we juggle a lot, especially now getting into the mental health stuff. We are not medical examiners. We have no idea. I'm thankful that I've had the ability to fall back and really start to witness things, but that's just one of me. You know, I can't speak for all the other officers. What I try to do is, especially my newer officers, take on some of my experiences and pass them on to them, and not only tell them, but I provide them with the why. You know, I will tell you one incident that a lot of what I'm going to say when it comes to policing and how do we change and how do we fix it, it starts with courage. I'm different right now. I'm not different as I'm patting myself on the back and I'm better. I'm willing to be the sacrifice. I'm willing to lose. And when I say lose, not lose as in doing something stupid intentionally, but if I truly believe in what I'm doing is right, then I can't be wrong. Okay? And that's actually what Rosa Parks said.
Right.
You know, you can't be doing wrong when your attempt is right. Now, I can be wrong,
You can make a mistake, but trying to do the right thing.
but, and so, man, I don't wanna,
Well,
alright, and I'll say it.
Look, well, I had a question.
I want him to say it though.
No, go ahead, say it then. Go ahead. Everybody was like, you about to say it. I was trying to help him. I was just going to.
Ginger got high.
Go ahead, so, go ahead, say it.
'Cause this
It's
is
weighing
really-
on your heart.
Yeah, well,
It's going
He
to say
said, he said,
Yeah, it's weighing on your heart. Sometimes you gotta let go and let go.
I am too honest at times.
That's not a problem.
no,
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm way too honest.
COVID?
Way too honest.
Hey,
And
That's
I can-
rare.
I can tell you, it's not always in the favor. It may make us look a certain way, but in order for you to get your gains, you gotta be uncomfortable.
oh yeah.
yes,
Oh yeah.
yes, you have to have uncomfortable
I
conversations.
attended a class,
Okay.
a training class put on by police officers in reference to the Sandra Bland.
Who?
And the officer started out the class with, yeah, it's a double standard. So and when I say this, just bear with me.
Okay.
Officer starts out the class saying, I just want to let you know I was told at the last minute to put this class together. It's something we have to do, and I put it together by 2 o'clock this morning. One,
White officer,
correct.
okay?
Ah,
Second, everybody comes into the classroom and he says, I just want you to know that we didn't kill Sandra Bland. So I was like, well, damn, what they got to do with the training? That's so that's what I'm saying to self. I sit back, the class is going on. And this is actually a class I think the state has mandated for new drivers to take as part of their, in order to get your license. And it's pretty much of how to interact with police officers if you get pulled over. One of the clips showcased a series of officers saying, hey, when you stop, pull over, do this, blink on, hands up, blah, blah, blah. But one officer said, when the police tell you to get out the car, get out the car. So, raise my head up. Yeah, cool. Another officer say, hey, just to clarify that, just because the officer tells you to get out of the car, does that mean you have to? And
that's a good question.
he said, yes.
Is that the law though? Right.
So you saying just because you feel like you want me to get out the car, that I have to get out the car? Yes. I say I disagree. Now, I'm not being arrogant. I'm not being,
How many black people in this class at the time, besides you?
two, and so including me, just one other.
And how many people were in the class?
Make 30.
Yeah.
So,
But once again, working in a predominantly white community.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, no,
But,
I
what?
was just curious as to the setting that he was in. I'm just trying to paint the picture.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
And it's a varied amount of experience, you know, from guys from maybe 10 months in
Yeah.
to people with 25 years in. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's an awkward situation to
you
be
know,
in too.
so yeah, varied.
because I ain't gonna lie.
Especially being the minority in the room,
Yeah.
speaking up
Wow.
against, you know, and so in such a touchy situation because, you know, one thing that I know cops don't like is to be told to, because we are the authority, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I-
Authority figures.
It takes some huge, trust me, we're gonna touch on that. But, so as I sit, and he say, T, what you mean? I say, just because you have a notion that you just feel like you just want me to get out the car, then doesn't mean that I have to get out the car. He said, I disagree with you. And then what troubled me was, and then at this time, this is about, 3 years ago, so 15 years in, I've worked undercover. I'm very knowledgeable, okay? I'm not saying that to brag, I'm saying that because I have to have it. You, as citizens, you count on us to be knowledgeable.
Well, I will hope you would know.
About
Yeah,
what we're
for
doing.
sure, for
So,
sure. I want you
I
to
had a
know.
rookie tell me, T, maybe you just don't know case law. I asked him, what case are you referring to? I know what case he's referring to. Pennsylvania versus Mims. So maybe you should read it. I say, well, how about you read it?
Mm-hmm.
So take it upon himself to read it out loud.
Are you trying to pull your card?
Yeah.
And then reading, he reads it. And then along the reading, it says, you know, if an officer pulls you over and things like that, and have you got the car, you know, you're required to get the car. I said, is that it? He's like, yeah, it says it right there. I say, can you explain the punctuation that's behind that last word you just said?
Mm-hmm.
He said, huh? I said, don't worry, it's a comma, followed by a conjunction,
Mm-hmm.
which is followed by another series of words, but it has a complete thought. So that's one sentence with a conjunction, with another sentence, and that forms a complete thought. So
He just took it back to English.
yeah.
On the nigga.
So what he did
Right.
was, I asked him to read it throughout the entirety of what it says, and once you get to the period, the concept says if the officer has probable cause or reasonable suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two key elements
Right.
that's needed for you to.
So if you don't have probable cause to that, he can't.
'Cause you-
necessarily-
Or reasonable suspicion. Now, let's dive into reasonable suspicions. If you're doing something that puts me on alarm, whether you're reaching for something, you're grabbing something like that, I can ask you to do that for safety reasons.
Mhm.
To step out the car.
Yes.
But y'all always ask us to reach for something when y'all ask for.
Yeah. No. I'm saying, let's say I got you pulled over. I'm looking at my window,
Right.
and I see you.
Mm-hmm.
I may get on a loudspeaker. Hey, can you go ahead and just step out the car for me?
Yeah.
You know, or I may walk up to you just to keep you calm and see what's going on. Hey man, can you step out? But just know my reasonable suspicion started with what I see, all your furtive movements.
What about if you're say you're driving behind someone, you pull them over, but you run a license plate and see they may be a convicted felon, and so or say it's something with violence, right? Do that automatically make you feel like, okay, this person has
So-
violent offenses? Do I need to have my guard up?
Those could be articulable facts that you can use given what situation you may find yourself in. But I don't use that as precedence to make my determination. Because this
Do
all
you think most officers do? Like, say, if you got a warrant for it, you say you on the run for bodily injury or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, you automatically kind of give them a red flag or have the antennas up off top. Do you think?
Had the antennas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
no. I mean, that's a good question.
Because that
I won't blanket officers like that.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of us handle things differently. Just because I'm like I actually just attended a class Friday in which we showcased an officer sitting down, talking to he's actually sitting on his butt in the parking lot, talking to a big autistic child who just got into a fight with two other officers.
Right.
And it was a debate about what was that appropriate.
Right.
I thought it was.
Right.
The other guys were like, oh, that's officer safety, this. But the officer was showcasing, he got down to his level. And even
He
though
was
he
autistic.
yeah.
He was autistic.
And that officer was confident in his abilities.
Right.
So I can get on the ground. If it's just one guy and I got two guys behind me, okay, he gonna jump on me. What is he gonna do?
Exactly.
And we walk
Right.
around for a few seconds before
And
my guys
two-
come help.
Yeah.
So the training usually is there, is what you're saying. The training usually there. Is it the person that chooses to make that bad decision in those circumstances?
And it's not just necessarily a bad decision. It is a split second decision
Right.
that they feel is best for them, without taking everything into account.
And I want to jump on something. I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit. I always felt that they use the word feel threatened. See, we can't determine a feeling. So if you use the word I felt threatened, that could always happen that you can never determine. So therefore, if like you can say I felt threatened, bow, bow, bow.
It's something that we use in law enforcement is articulate. Because you can't just say that if you cannot articulate the feeling. So if you're
He
going
has
to
to
say
have
that,
something showing that
Yes.
you made you feel threatened.
Because you just can't use a blanket statement. I feel threatened. Okay. And I don't mind telling on myself. I actually made that mistake. I made the mistake of I was working undercover. I saw a drug buy, pulled the kids over, got everybody out, searched them, found somebody with weed, took them to jail. So come back, and I'm thankful my supervisor did this. He was like, hey, what allowed you to pull them all out the car? I was like, cuz, we saw the deal, we saw this. He was like, but what allowed you, like, how can you articulate that you was able to, like, because, you know.
Right.
Because you saw the trade.
Well, that's
Right,
what
yeah,
but honestly, you can't just say that.
True, right.
You know, say that I saw the person from the passenger seat lunge toward the back. You know, say something
You
that
have
would
to
make
have some
any proof.
content to make it,
Yeah.
that statement make sense. Like,
Now,
I
if-
fear for my life because blah, blah, blah,
You
blah.
know, because when the guy lifted his shirt, I saw the handle of a pistol,
Right.
and I thought he was reaching for it. And so, but you can't just say he's bigger than me.
Right.
That's not gonna fly. So
Yeah.
it's not just saying that, but you also have to have the articulation to support that claim.
Okay.
Okay.
I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's just, I'm torn between the situations where people literally lose their life
Mm-hmm.
and it's unjustified because a police officer said, I felt threatened.
Yeah.
With no weapon, handcuffed, and can't even defend himself. And they can use the words, I felt
threatened.
a fear for my life. And it's like it doesn't, and people, police officers have gotten off on this. How could you fear for your life when you have 4 weapons on your waist? He's handcuffed, and he has no way of protecting himself. How could you possibly?
You're
feel
basically describing Oscar. What's Fruitvale? What's his last name? Oscar
the one that Michael B. Jordan played?
Yeah, Oscar. I don't know
I
his
forget
last
his
name, but
name,
you know
too.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You're basically because that was what you're
And-
describing is literally what
Yeah,
was
and
happening.
I mean he was face down, handcuffed,
Not a threat.
and knee on his back, gun to his temple.
3 officers around him.
And-
One officer pulls gun, bow, and
Yeah, so it's like that can't be. That's not a mistake in the eyes of civilians, and maybe in the eyes of some officers as well. But that can't be a mistake. He's completely unarmed, handcuffed, hands behind his back, handcuffed, knee on his back, gun to his temple. What would make an officer feel that it's okay to pull a gun out and put it to the man's temple?
Let me ask a question through that statement, right, or that question right there, because I think ultimately it depends on what's in that person's heart, mind,
Right,
whatever.
right.
Maybe they just like F this guy, bang, and that's it. You know, they have no care or value of human life, and this person's gone, whatever, and they believe that perhaps they have the support of a system that will
That will get
articulate
them
for
off.
them whatever led them to that discretion.
Right.
So to avoid the situations that Anthony and Corey were just describing, you spoke earlier and said that so much of your job is a matter of discretion, and that makes sense because, of course, you're dealing with things in a moment, and just like that.
Split second.
But is there anything in the form of training, and I'm asking this sincerely, this is not rhetorical because my knowledge on policing is limited. However, is there anything that can be done to somewhat maybe make more solid the rules of engagement? I found it interesting because I've always had this perception of my mind of the police in its hierarchical form and just in so many different ways. It's kind of like a militaristic institution. Also, when you start seeing tear gas and all these other weapons of
Right.
war, essentially,
Right.
it looks like the military. So, but I thought that in the military there's a more defined rules of engagement. And the military also being a group of members who would be having to make decisions oftentimes at a moment's notice, even if perhaps receiving direction and strategy from, whomever ranks above. But is there anything that could apply if this, and you have experience in each, if there can be more defined rules of engagement in the military, is there a place for that systemically, not individuals making the decision for themselves, but systemically within police departments in the form of training to prevent people from just being able to, my discretion and articulate?
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing that I know that I hate, we have to set hard, clear guidelines on situations like that. And I think we may be hesitant to do so in fear of
Not being able to defend those cases in case they happen.
not only that, but unfortunately, and this is what I have seen, and this sucks, but a lot of times you don't want to create a platform that negative people or the bad apples can prosper from. Okay.
Oh,
And
take
so-
advantage of, basically.
Yes,
Gotcha.
and that's when you make those hard rules. I get that part, but I still feel in my hearts of hearts that we still got to do something better.
Yeah.
But
you
a lot
know.
of innocent people are getting killed.
Yeah,
I mean, people are worried about. I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, but people are worried about the bad apples. But it's like, but you're not. But a lot of people that you see, you're not killing the bad.
yeah, I mean, and
You're
like
killing people
it's-
that are innocent, even though they might have done something wrong. But you're killing people that are unarmed and are not really posing as a threat. You know, like from shooting a dude that's lying on his stomach, face down, handcuffed, to choking out a dude on the curb.
Or
You
having
know what
a
I'm
knee.
saying? With 3 police officers on his back, can't move. I'm pretty sure he was cuffed. You know, and you choking the hell out of him, and him telling you, I can't breathe, and you kill him.
no, I
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
So what I'm seeing when I said the pendulum is starting to, swing to the other side, we're no longer that leadership and command of yesteryear, meaning that it's more young, forward-thinking, progressive people that are entering the role of leadership. So the thought process is starting to change, and it's more progressive towards a new day style of policing.
So we're looking at you're pretty much looking to change the way policing is being done.
Oh yeah, and like not just me, but it's happening.
It's happening.
It's already in place, and it's in place to a point that is real, and I can say this because I'm positive. I'm an optimistic person, but I don't mind calling BS when I see it.
Right.
However, I have seen this like in its true form.
And
Like,
so these
starting
things
to-
are coming in play.
Yeah, I will tell you though, it's only been about past 2 to 3 years. So
But
I was gonna ask when
yeah.
did that start?
and I don't want you to think it's something we've been doing.
hey,
Right.
Hey, it's probably we might
Well,
not
they-
see it, but it's
yeah.
good to hear it,
Right.
especially coming from you. But it's like you're just in one police department.
Yeah, I was gonna
Is
ask you
this gonna
that.
happen?
So
Are you seeing this
and
throughout
some of the
multiple-
training? So just know a lot of the training I speak from is not from just my department.
Okay.
It's from
When-
multiple departments.
Yes, when we have trainings, when we go to trainings, it's like agencies from all over, not just locally. A lot of times, especially when I go do my negotiation training, man, we even had some departments from Singapore. That was pretty cool, man. You know, they didn't really speak English, but it was cool. Like I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
And they had translators and things like that. I mean, yeah, they got by, but that's how vast that we're trying to get when I.
You're
when
trying
I-
to broaden the horizon of
Yes.
where we're being policed.
Because we are in tune with the fact, and I will say this, we are truly in tune with the fact that we need to get better. I will say that. That's
Right.
something that I've witnessed maybe the past, once again.
Hey, that's a
2,
good
3
thing.
years.
That's a good thing. You know, and we're gonna go ahead and take a commercial break. I want you to keep that thought. We're gonna get back onto that. We're gonna come back to police brutality and policing the actual neighborhoods next. I'll be there. Hey, welcome back to I'll Be Damned. It's your boy Ann Jordan. The first question we got coming back from my boy Sir Charles. What you got?
Tell me about what is a blue life? What do
Oh.
blue lives matter? What is that?
Oh wow, I
Or
like
what do
that.
you think of blue light?
I
Yeah,
actually-
no,
I know what
I
you think.
don't-
Like,
yeah.
what is it? What is that? What is that definition? And you know what you think about it. No, I
Anybody
want, he's in a police
in law
officer.
enforcement.
I know he's law enforcement, and they think of, they say blue lives, blue life, all that type of stuff.
Matter.
'Cause, you know
Blue
what I'm saying?
lives
So exactly, blue lives matter. And you know, I was watching the stand up of Dave Chappelle, and he was like, "Nigga, first of all, that is not no race of no type or form or anything like that. That is, you are not a blue life. You are black, you are white, you are Mexican, Latino, whatever. But there is no blue life. So y'all talking about this blue lives matter does not make any sense because you can take that blue off. So when officers go around talking about blue lives, it really offends a lot of people. So I'm like, what does that phrase mean to y'all in the police department?
I can't say y'all.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just gonna say that.
Cool.
I
Well,
would say me.
what have you seen as far as like the men in your police department?
So-
How serious do they take that?
Based upon my examination is propaganda. It's propaganda and fact. Meaning that this is the new thing. Somebody's profiting big time off of this, and people are buying into it.
Right.
It really has no basis or no matter. Like, bro, those are my brothers. I got their 6 all day, and that's it.
Right.
You know, but I will hold them accountable. Okay. So what I mean is, like, when I told you I was different, a lot of that stuff I don't even give it attention. So it's hard for me to gauge it. It's just that I look at it no different than a business strategy from somebody.
Right.
You know, that's what it means to me when you say Blue Lives Matter. Is that somebody's taking an opportunity to capitalize on
Something financially.
yeah.
But then, like, it's also because I know a lot of people look at. I ain't gonna lie. I said, you know, they talk about police, you know, are against gangs, all that type of stuff. Sometimes I think the police are a gang themselves.
Yeah, they
and
are.
especially when
They
you come
the-
out with that Blue Lives
they the
Matter,
original gang.
it makes you even more of a gang. Sounds like even more of a gang.
And we really have to understand the history of policing to understand where we are right now with it. You know, in the early 1700s, or the early 1800s, it was
catch our ass.
yeah, they was coming to bring us back. They was to capture slaves. Now, however, if you go back even further to and I actually researched this. I'm drawing a blank, but in other countries like, and I want to say maybe ancient Egypt or ancient Greece, the police were used as what's that word? It's kind of like a prophet, but at that time the word prophet means someone of standard. Okay, so the police were looked upon as the people in which they wanted society to mimic.
Okay.
And so those were the people that actually had the authority, not because they put people in jail, but was because, okay, if this is what I want society to look like, this type of person fits the mold. So meaning educated, respected, fair treated, you know, all the good qualities that you just want people to be. That's who they used to be. So the idea of policing depends, it came from a variety of different locations, other than just to put people in jail or capture slaves. You know what I'm saying? So depending on your origin, that's where now that it's a business and an entity within society period, that's how we get to where we are.
Yeah.
But the origins from which, man, they're actually different. Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. So is that why in other countries the police officers police different?
Yes.
Because it's not as, you know, like, I don't know what country they came from, but it was
On the
they-
subway?
Yeah, on the subway, and they detained the guy like totally different than the way that
We do here.
Americans do. And then
Yeah.
they also they usually use their jail as like a rehabilitation type of
It's a business here.
situation.
And-
yeah, so
yeah.
it's business.
That's the beauty of it, is because their origin comes from a place in which their belief system allows them to operate different from what we are taught. And if it wasn't for the fact that I educated myself on that, I wouldn't have known that.
And see, that's what I think that needs to happen in the police force. That we need to be all educated. Like they need to educate the police officers because, and then they need to educate them on the systemic racism that comes along with that because you can't change that until the system change.
The problem is the demand for officers outweigh the need for education. How long it take you to get your barber license?
Not long because I had to hook up.
No, but the normal route.
What are you saying?
I know where you're going with this 'cause I've heard it
What are you saying? It's in the room.
But yeah,
Something
Yeah,
that,
stop telling
that I
yourself.
was told was that it's 18 to 24 months before you know,
Slide.
18 to 24 months. Make sure you edit that part.
allegedly.
My slid on in there, boy.
Hey, 18 to 24 months is what it takes for a cosmetology license. It takes us 6 months. Actually, it's 5 weeks. I mean, five months and.
Do you think that's enough?
2? No. Well,
Especially-
let me rephrase it. The teaching of the laws part, yeah, that's okay because they're providing you with the basics. Now, I will tell you, it does take a total of 18 months before you are. When you go to the academy, that's the academy.
Which is what happens at Academy.
Exactly. That's like going to college.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
you're in
Yeah.
class
Yeah,
In
learning.
order to go
Doing-
to the academy, you have to be selected. And do you feel like they're doing a good job selecting the right type of people to police our
There you go.
neighborhoods and stuff?
There you go. Now you touch
Yeah.
it.
Oh no, that was my
Now
question.
you touch it.
Are they,
Because
are they,
we
are
get
they
along
selecting the
with
right? Because I
people.
feel like when you go to the academy, especially with the amount of months that you saying it takes to become a police officer, I feel like as soon as dudes graduate, they be like, "Woo! Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when I
It's-
come
it's
for you?"
actually
Like they
the
ready to
opposite.
shout something.
It's actually the opposite.
Really?
They
Oh, they
scared.
scared. They shaking.
It's dark out here.
You know, it's different.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I've noticed like we go to police brutality, and the first thing we think racist, right?
Mhm.
I'm a little different when it comes to that. Do I believe a lot of racism goes into that? Yes, but I think a lot of it goes to where they may necessarily be racist, but they feel that hey, with that race, I can get away with being a pussy. I can get away with killing somebody.
I
can
think
get
it's more
away.
fear.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, why? That's another thing though. Why would they? Like, you don't see brothers
They
ain't
have a
going.
whole system behind
Brothers
it.
ain't going to South Lake shooting up white folks. So why? I don't understand. Like, why the fear is so much to us? Like, when it's killing, most of the time it's in our own communities.
Well, you have
Yeah,
your
but that's not
ego.
what people are taught. That's not what people experience oftentimes for themselves, even though that is statistically, the case. And many of these same people, like to the point that you just made earlier, that could be anybody in society, right? And anybody in society can go and decide to join law enforcement. And they could carry those same sentiments, those same feelings, that same conditioning and bias with them.
But are you scared more when you see a white man with a gun or a black man
Who, for myself?
with a gun? For yourself.
I'll be honest, due to conditioning, probably more so if I'm being entirely honest, black.
Okay. What about
When
you?
say
Which should not be the case.
Hold on, hold
Let
on.
me be clear.
If you see a white man with a gun or a black man with a gun, what are you more scared of? Just be honest.
I'm scared of the white man because black people don't know how to shoot like that.
So
They ain't got
Realistically, what are you scared of? I know you and Chad both, y'all more suburban areas.
No,
correct?
look, that conditioning comes from the environment
That you're
of the
in.
schools that I was going
Right.
to.
And so that's why I'm asking the same question. Same
mean,
kind of environment. What?
I can't really answer that. I mean, if
You
I'm
can.
seeing it on someone, like just walking
You
around,
two men, one white, one black.
Black.
Straight up, both had a gun. Which
I
one you
mean-
scared of most?
I can't answer that because if I'm walking
gotta
around,
answer that.
Can I talk?
Like,
If I'm walking around somewhere and I see a black guy with a gun on his hip and a white guy with a gun on his hip, I'm not going to be in fear of either one of them because one, I'm hoping they're licensed and they know the safety of guns.
Yeah, go
and how to
for
Hold
use
on,
them.
that's the point. Did you say gun is on the hip?
no, I said
Because that's going to change
that's
my
different,
answer.
yeah.
That's completely
That's
different
different.
now.
No, I said gun.
Now
I
it's
said gun
completely
in the
different.
hand.
Huh?
I said in the
black people ain't got a gun
hand.
on their hip. It's in their hands.
No,
I don't even see a black dude with a gun on his hip, right?
No.
Unless it's like the sheriff from Blazing Saddles.
I said gun in his hand.
Got that. And Mike right there.
All right, go ahead.
Gun in his hand.
In their hand.
Me personally, if I see a white dude with a gun in his hand, I get more fearful than a black dude with a gun because I deal with that more.
Right.
White dude with a gun in his hand, I know they can shoot and get away with that shit.
So
With
you
no,
agree with me?
most brothers, that should be realistic. If you've been in the hood,
The white dudes
you
been
know
at
how
the
many
range
dudes bring out
practicing.
guns, be like, nigga, I got a piece, I got this, I'm sure. They ain't doing nothing with it. White dude pull out a gun in his hand, he shoots some shit.
Not necessarily.
Whatever.
I ain't never seen a white dude pull and
And that's why I
point and
said black
don't
people
shoot.
will shoot, but they don't shoot accurate.
They would shoot up in the air just to clear some shit out.
For the 4th of July.
something that was pointed out.
New Year's Eve.
He said the key word I heard you say was condition.
Yep.
When you say condition, what are you speaking of? Let's clarify that.
I'm speaking of social conditioning.
Like-
Conditioning that our society
There you go.
just
Okay.
just molds us. Yeah.
Because
The nurture part in nature versus nurture.
Right.
and what is the educational part? And like even though
Correct.
and it may not be
It's at all levels.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it may not be the correct education.
Correct.
And it may be
Right.
a bias education, but that's what you're fed.
Stereotype.
Yeah, I mean
The stereotype is
Yeah.
a black man with a gun, he looks scary and shit, run.
Right.
Yeah.
But white dude with a gun, he's protecting us.
Speaking-
that
Neighborhood watch.
Yeah,
Right.
he's here. He's
But then but put like this, when it's okay, let's put another scenario on it. You got a black man in the car with a gun, you got a white man in the car with a gun. Who's more of a threat?
That you think.
That
I know
you think.
Now, you asking me
Because
personally?
speaking for you,
Well,
I already know.
You know what? Well, speaking from you, but I'm like, okay, well,
In
So-
general.
in general, as far
I
as police,
will-
who would they consider more of the threat? The white man with a gun in his car or the black man with a gun in his car?
It depends on the officer. And let me explain what I did. And this is recent. I won't say names, but this actually happened. I had an officer, with the pandemic happening, everything was shut down, and I ended up going back to working patrol, which is cool. Patrol is the heart of policing. If you don't want to be a patrol officer, you shouldn't want to be a police officer. So that's where you really get to learn. And got a great guy, love the guy to death, won't ever say anything negative about him. But I noticed he asked me to come help him. He was like, hey T, he had just pulled a call. And I heard him, cool. He was like, T, can you come back? Gotcha. Boom. I roll over, a white police officer, squared away dude. He was like, hey man, yeah, there's something up with this guy. I was like, cool, what's up? Now, what I'm about to tell you is that this is not a reflection on the man, it's a reflection on the training. Okay?
Okay. I'm
And
glad you
so-
said that because I was instantly going to the man.
Yeah. 'Cause this is somebody who I will bat for all day, every day.
All right.
Good dude in your heart.
Yeah, great dude.
So much of what you said sounds like when we're talking about policing in different cultures. The one thing that I feel like that kind of brings it all together is that there's a premium placed on public servitude, being public servants, and that takes more than just knowing how to fire a weapon. That takes de-escalation tactics. And I know it also at the very, very top of the conversation you had mentioned that you weren't, or excuse me, officers do not receive enough training in the form of no, it wasn't that. I believe it was that like trying to address mental health issues and stuff like that. So it sounds to me as if police are being stretched too
far,
thin,
yeah.
too far, too thin, and not being
Trained.
even given the training to adequately do what the true job is of being a public servant.
Not only not being trained, but not even given the opportunity to. And still being asked of more.
Yeah.
And like, because here's the thing, if you got a department, let's just take my department, for example. You got a department the size of 70, let's say 70 sworn, okay? Patrol shift of maybe 5 officers for 12 hours, okay? That's 5 officers on the street for 12 hours. If you have 2 major incidents, you just wiped out the whole force for the whole day, okay? And just because we're tied up with these 2 incidents don't mean that the world stopped.
Right.
Right.
So everything
Crime
else
still
is
going,
on.
everything's still
So
moving.
now you try to take time out to allow 1 officer per shift to get that type of training. That means that person's gonna have to miss work. Okay. If not miss work, then they have to miss time away from their family because on their days off they're gonna be attending training. And then after being working like crazy, supposed to be off, you go on to training, then you turn around and come in back to work. Okay, and I've been a part of that cycle. People thought, oh, T, you make good money, bro, man, but I'm tired. I ain't even seen my daughter in the past three days, 4 days, you know, because when she see me, I'm getting dressed to leave. When she see me again, I'm telling her good night, you know. So, and those factors happen a lot. Like when I say, man, just to know that I still got 2 hours left before my shift is over, and I'm planning. Okay, if I hurry up and take my uniform off, throw it in the washer, eat real quick, then I can, hopefully by the time I finish eating, I can put it in the dryer, then I can go to sleep, and I got like 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Then, I mean, and, but that's just not a one-time incident. Like when that's happened, so, you know, then now somebody's sick, and you were supposed to go to training, but you can't go to training because we don't have enough staff members. You see what I'm saying? So these are dynamics and factors that society don't get the
Right.
opportunity
Okay, so
to
my question on
witness.
that, what would you change? Shorter hours? More police force out there? Like what would be answer.
Oh, trust me, shit.
Can I ask a question that goes with the very last part you said?
Yeah, because this something
You mentioned offering up an idea of like more officers. Earlier you mentioned that the demand for officers is being outpaced. I can't remember what it was relative to, but what determines the demand for officers?
the one thing is the population.
So just sheer numbers.
Population of the actual city?
Yeah,
Okay.
the population and the statistical data on the call volume. meaning that that's why it's important for us to know our response times and how we're handling things and the over/under in reference to the situations that we encounter. But how do you handle that? So the solution I have, it will get a lot of pushback, and I'm cool with that because it's somebody that's well thought of. And this is not because I thought of it, but it's just true. Let's up this pay.
Hey,
So,
That ain't
hold
gonna
on,
happen.
hold on, but
It's
no,
possible. It's possible.
and just hear me out, okay? If you up the pay, you can get a better pool of applicants.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, why would you risk your life for, $6,000 to $8,000?
It's
It's
the same
sad,
thing. It's the same thing when you went to the military.
but with the military, like they'll pay you college, like it's a lot of
It's
other
a lot more perks in the
incentives.
military.
But I understand that, but I know there's a lot of people that been in the military that get back here and they got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, but
Some of them don't
And
take
then-
advantage of what they do have too, though.
and then a lot of that training in the military, I ain't gonna say a lot. Some of it doesn't move over to the to the private sector.
Right.
However, just being military and policing, that goes hand in hand. But if you're gonna enter the military, enter policing, leaving the military, and you're pretty much making equal or less than what you were, then is your life worth it? See, now the thing about law enforcement, sadly, we are more valuable dead than alive. And how can you truly enjoy the fruits of your labor, and how can you get the creme de la creme when you're paying crumbs? Now, I've been working on something that's going to hopefully combat that if I just get the right person to listen.
Oh, is that what we talked about in the barbershop?
Yeah. And this is something that I've not only put my time and effort into, I put my money into, because that's how serious I am. Now, I wonder how many other people, and I challenge and I welcome anybody else to take on this same type of venture. And and I mean those law
say
enforcement
nothing but a word,
business.
sir.
But like that's what it's about. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta say nothing but a word,
but like,
Hey, I'm ready for my training today. I'm ready for my training.
He said what he say about crumbs, we good.
but that,
He said up the pay, and he was like, oh, okay,
Let me
hold
tell
on.
you something. They up that pay, I'll give you more money back my dollar.
that's what I'm talking about.
If they up that pay, you can see me on the street tomorrow. Huh?
Okay, so I just Googled what
Huh?
the average salary was for a
Uh-huh.
policeman. It said 35 to 65.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, and that's very accurate.
And that shit, and that's
And-
low.
and-
That's low for someone that's putting their life on the line on a daily
Exactly.
basis.
And
But
not only that, but you'll be surprised. A lot of people hate being a cop because we have to write a lot. Like we write way too much.
Y'all really don't.
Like no. Like I'm dead.
I know
serious,
some
bro.
cops
Like, so thankfully,
I ain't been taken to jail on a warrant because he didn't want to do the paperwork.
no, really.
Real
It's
talk.
It's like the movies.
Yeah.
Now back in the beginning of my career, I would never forget. I was so upset because I booked a guy in, and he was outside and got arrested again before I finished his
first
paperwork.
report.
I'm not joking.
Boy.
And so that's sad. I can't make that up. Like that's
terrible.
When he
sad.
left jail the first time, they said he'll be back
Man,
10 minutes later.
It's like, so I'm in there typing. I still have his photo up. I'm like, and so the clerk lady thought. Say, the clerk lady thought.
Hold on. Was he
that
black
it
or
was-
was he, what was his race?
He black.
Okay, not for the same thing?
Hell,
No, it was
nigga.
okay. So I picked him up on warrants.
Okay.
I picked him up on
Had to be
warrants,
us, right?
and I had to let him go, but he had a lot of warrants, bro.
Bro, I can't let you go with that. Bro, you just had one. I got you. Take care of
And
it. But you got 50.
the thing about entering warrants, you have to enter each number. And these numbers are long, there's no copy paste.
Yeah.
And they different numbers. I think he had 19 warrants.
It's the super villain.
So
Okay.
I'm literally in there. And that's the only why I took him. If he had one or two, I'm like, come on, man, go on.
Yeah.
But he had 19, so as I'm in there typing and I'm like falling asleep because I'm mad, And I heard, and I'm like, dang, man, they finna bring somebody else in. I need to hurry up because we only have one computer.
Yeah.
And I look, and he was like, "What's up, T?" I'm like,
You know you my first name.
Soon as he pull him over here with that.
Sharon.
man, that
That'd be the worst. You know, as soon as he hear you talking about, man, you know you got warrants.
Really the fucked up times.
You like, no, you done fucked up. He like, well, officer, you know, you can let a brother go. You like, hell no, you got 20 warrants, bro. I can't do nothing for you.
man, I tell you what, this job, if you want to do it,
I do. What I gotta do.
and this probably one.
Hell no.
And,
That's a hell no.
and this probably
That's a hell no.
That's
but-
not a hell no moment. That's a hell no man. I'm not taking no shot.
That's a hell no, but
I have a dream.
hell no. It ain't should be no damn law enforcement. You
Nigga, I'm
take
gonna
that.
enhance it. I'm gonna be like, nigga.
No, you take that shot. You take that
Oh
shot.
yeah.
No.
Bro, I'd be a great ass officer. You the first nigga I'm gonna arrest.
Fuck you.
You want to shut up? You want to go to jail? You want to go to jail? You want to go home?
They do psychology testing before you're a police
Yeah,
officer,
man.
correct? Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna pass the hell out of that.
Oh.
Cause I'm gonna put on my white voice. Ask me anything you want.
No, man,
How you doing?
and that psych test is pretty hard.
Yeah, as soon as
It is.
Yeah,
Okay,
soon as
give
you
me
start.
give me something that they do on the
That's
side.
your test answer right there. Every
What?
time.
What do they ask you?
So honestly,
Treat me like I'm on a psych test. What?
I'm gonna just say this: it's far from what you think.
Hell no.
But you can't tell me. You can't give me a question during the psych test. Like that's what I'm saying. I want to see how I respond. I'm just curious.
This ain't he gonna respond like this.
So,
Hey, he knows the words. He knows the words. I learned the words, bro. So
That's you.
that's cool. Hey, I bet you'll let me in.
So the psych test ain't hard; it's just designed to be stressful and very tiring, extremely tiring.
And see how you handle being under pressure,
And I mean, and it's not hard as in, oh my god, like you ain't got to study for it, but it's like
It's draining.
very draining. I mean, like bro, like just looking at it, you be like, really? I think the last one I took was 780 some questions.
Hell no.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You lucky you don't drink. You lucky you don't drink tea. I be hell no.
No, and it's no
bubbling
ABC. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's multiple choice.
No.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
it's
It's fill in the
multiple.
blank.
No,
It
no,
ain't
no,
gonna
no.
matter.
It's multiple choice, but you have to
Drawing
read
that pattern on
everything.
the Scantron.
So,
Right.
so you can't just. Oh, I'm gonna just
Taking
mark
4
this.
SATs at one time.
No, and like I'm dead serious, bro. Last time I think somebody said it was like in the thousands. Like,
Oh
you know,
hell no.
But it
No.
depends on how bad you.
No, I don't want to be a cop. That's
And
bad.
like, bro, it will.
So
Oh,
go
okay,
ahead,
I mean,
take that off.
So y'all done
Nah, I'm
just-
saying,
don't
no,
matter,
keep it
man.
up, but that don't scare
This
me.
ain't for you. Nope.
Yeah,
Take it off.
I got a question. When I hear a lot of this where it's like police officers. I'm not being funny. I'm not even throwing a shot. I mean for real. Police officers have a hard job, right? It's very dangerous. But you chose that shit.
right.
And see, and that's
Right.
the thing. I get like. I hate when I go through a drive-through McDonald's and you pissed off. You filled out the goddamn application.
Yeah.
Like you mad that you at work, but you filled it out. So I'm like, they always like, man, my job is this and the third. You chose to do that.
Yes, I agree with you, and that's actually some of the rebuttals that I say. I always tell people I have the ability to say what you're thinking because I wear the same uniform as they do, and oftentimes I do because they need to hear that, and they need to hear it, and the others don't give a shit if you're offended. So what? Good.
Right.
Then you need to step your game up and quit.
Right.
You know,
and that's why I brought you on here because you my man 50 grand pots and pans. You always keep it a buck.
Something I tell officers that they don't like. Don't get mad at me for saying it. You get mad at you for doing it.
So let me ask you this. Let's go rapid fire real quick. You know what I'm saying? I want to have some fun. So we've had a lot of injustice things happen. So one, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna put
Have
the
some
scenario.
fun with injustice.
No.
Yeah, wait, what is about to happen?
No, I'm talking about, so basically, with recent, I don't know if it's happened yet, if he has appeared in court yet, but with the George Floyd,
Derek Chauvin.
should he be going to jail?
Yes.
And yes, he should.
Yes.
And do you think he's going to jail?
Yes.
You better.
You think so?
Yes.
No, I'm asking that because there's
Right,
plenty of people
right.
that you think are going to jail and
Yeah.
don't
Go
go.
to jail.
But that's my point.
Mm-hmm.
And that pendulum coming.
Oh yeah.
So he is getting that.
Okay.
I don't mind saying this out loud in front of the world.
Breonna Taylor.
I'm
That was
skeptical.
mine.
That was scary. Man.
I'm real skeptical.
All the things that they
real
put in
skeptical.
play to deny what went on.
Cause
there
like
was
at first they
crazy.
made it seem like it was a drug bust and there was drugs in the house and they were trying to arrest, but it was no drugs. You basically broke into somebody's house and shot them, and there
It was the
nothing-
wrong house.
It was a wrong house or whatever, and you got warrant. You claim you got warrants, all this type of stuff.
That goes back to what you said earlier. This is a good example in which we need to have a hard rule.
Right, for the rules of engagement.
This is
Yeah.
the perfect example.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing. The reason why we're gonna get away with this because there's nothing governing it. It's nothing in place that we can have. And unfortunately, it takes things like this to happen for us to put things in place. That's why I'm skeptical about it. When you start holding people accountable, whoever signed that warrant, whoever executed that warrant, if they know, shit, I'm probably gonna get locked up for the rest.
Right.
Is this the right place? Because I mean,
You wanna ask questions.
I've been on SWAT teams.
Yeah.
I've seen mistakes and things that I've. So I will tell you something that I done. When you asked me that question about has it been an incident where I was a part of something and I made a call that was.
Yeah, you was in
Not-
the middle of that story. You can
Yeah,
complete. Go ahead. Can you finish that for me?
this actually happened, man. I was working undercover, had a bus, had a buy. The guy wanted to flip. He was gonna flip on the house, and he promised me all this dope. And unfortunately, I couldn't corroborate what he was saying. Well, fortunately, I couldn't. Meaning that I just didn't take his word for it, being so set on the prize of getting all this dope. Oh, I'm gonna get a big bus, get the money,
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Boost your record.
Man, I
Yeah.
mean, really, I mean,
Yeah.
like it's going, like, man, that dude's dope, man. He know his stuff.
Yeah.
I actually fell back, bro. Like I fell back was like, man, this sounds too good to be true. And what I was told was it was a bag inside of either his mom's or his grandmother's house. And I know that the grandmother was watching the kids, and we was gonna wait till they got home from school. Like something I didn't like about it, to the point where I didn't feel comfortable, and I passed it up. And I actually got asked. So T, were you scared? So I asked him, fuck, I gotta be scared for. And two, who am I trying to impress? I say, think about this. We're going into a foreign location with limited information, and we're going to enter somebody's house for the sake of maybe some weed.
Right.
I say, is that worth it?
Hell no.
And when I put it like that, oh well, and like unfortunately sometimes I've been criticized or looked upon as if, how do you think like that?
Are you the black sheep in your department?
Hell yeah.
Possibly.
But are you loved?
By the community, hell yeah.
Man, okay, so I'm gonna read you something.
Hold up, bro. What you reaching for? What you reaching for? I need you to put sir, exactly. Put your phone on the table. That's all man she wants. What you reaching for? All right, you good? Yeah. You know what? You dead anyway. He know how it feels. He know how it feels. Bad boy, man. One more time, just a good old time. One more time.
Sit your butt naked ass down.
You move again. Move again. That's all I'm saying.
Boy, I wish I had that.
I'll blow your kneecap off right there.
You know what? That's why everybody not meant to be no goddamn goddamn right there.
But I see it's so much fun. I'm just fucking around. Hey, I'm gonna put it down, bro. I don't want to be no cop no more, bro. It's too much pressure. I don't want to be no cop. Hey, you ain't got to take. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Hey, that's cool.
I actually want to have you back on at a later date, and pretty much, if you could, at a later date, not today, but explain more on the actual rules and the proper ways that we can, of engagement, and how we can, how you guys de-escalate situations. At the highest climax, I want you guys to also, they want you to talk about how can we, in a routine traffic stop, get out alive. And I know sometimes it's the guy mindset is I'm gonna bust somebody's ass today. So you might not get away with it, but it's sometimes we literally sometimes I'm not saying it's okay. Please understand what I'm saying is we push the situation sometimes. And it's like, it's not, like I told my son, I don't have time for you to exercise your fucking rights.
Right.
Get the fuck home.
Home. Right.
We'll talk about that later on. But I need you to get home. And it sucks that we even have to have that conversation because you shouldn't be in fear of the police. We literally break laws when you're behind us. We be driving perfectly fine, and you get behind us.
What?
Oh shit!
I'll be switching lanes like a mother, see if you still gonna follow me in each lane.
Right, and I want like to literally get a better relationship between the police officers and civilians because I think we are automatically stereotyping police just like they're stereotyping us. We look at all cops negative. I ain't gonna lie. You already know I can't stand cops, but it's not like. It's not. It's experience based, but it's experience based. It's because of some of the shit I went through. It has nothing to do with just the police force.
Which, like for me, I was brought up suburbs. The police were there to protect us.
Yeah.
That was my mentality.
Like, how you need?
Yeah.
And like,
To us, they doing this shit. You know what I'm saying? It was
so
different.
you asked me, you were talking about when you said that I'm loved by the community.
Yeah.
7:20 Friday morning. Good morning. Just want to know that you were placed on this earth to be a difference maker for God. Don't let man stand in your way of your gifts to make a difference. I love you and pray for you. You are my brother in Christ, and I'm so thankful for you. Have a blessed day. So that actually came from the high school principal, who was in charge of 3,500 kids. She's preparing for her day. She took her time out to reach out to me just to say, T, I love you. And like, that means so much more to me than any accolade because,
And the police,
man, and that type of stuff holds me accountable. That's what makes me go, T, don't fuck up. T, don't, because I have the capability of being in situations where I can make the wrong decision. But when I have things like this that are put forth before me, it encourages me not to.
Would you say that you are at this point, after everything that has happened, all the injustice that you've seen as far as all over the nation, of police brutality and stuff like that, would you say that you are proud to be a police officer?
Very much so. Gotta be.
Because of the way you handle
Gotta
yourself.
be. Yeah, and
Right, yeah.
and not just that. So a lot of times, I actually had this happen several years back. Guys like, oh man, why you wear your earrings and why you wear this and why you wear your hair like that and this. I'm like, shit, because I want that. Yeah, just like this.
What?
No,
You
I'm
mean
talking.
how I got
Hey,
waves?
I'm talking about dead ass serious.
Yeah.
And I actually had to tell him because I want that young man to know he can still look like me and be better than you.
Okay, hey man.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
Praise
and
God.
like I said, don't
I
get
was
mad
shot
at me
you
for
for
saying
saying
it.
that.
You just get
What'd you
mad
say,
for you doing it. Because it ain't nothing stopping you from being better than just you.
Yeah.
Sure.
But see,
So-
we need more officers on the force like that. You know what I'm saying? But and not only that, I think there are more than we know of. We see what's painted.
I will tell you
We
this,
see
and
what's
I'm glad
painted.
you're saying that because those like this, they try to hush. They give
Oh, they gonna shut them up.
less limelight. Like, it's sad, but y'all don't know I was the #1 cop in the state of Texas in 2017. But they don't.
I do now.
They don't praise that.
Yeah.
But you can Google that. That ain't because I say so.
Well, there's something I wanted to say about that I'll kind of challenge y'all on. Is that I believe that there are probably more good officers than bad officers.
Yeah.
But I think the issue is not anecdotally each officer's experience and like some kind of counting game of like, okay, this many good ones here, some bad ones here. It seems that there's a systemic problem with the structure in its entirety, regardless of however many there are that are good versus bad. It seems as if those who are bad have more options available to them to exercise that bad.
Right.
Even if they are less in number than people such as yourself.
And
Is there
like
a lot of
I
corruption?
don't want to blanket and then like blame media, but controversy sells.
It does.
You know what I'm
It
saying?
does.
Like, that's a cool story. Nobody in my department has ever done what I accomplished, but that wasn't on the news. I'm not saying it should be because I was just doing my job. I didn't even know that was even available. I had no idea that it was
Accolade,
I didn't.
Yeah.
Actually, I accidentally got told by a lady who thought I knew. She was like, man, you did such a great job. I can't wait for you to go get your award. I'm like, huh? And she was like, oops. Yeah, but like all the great things officers do, those who really do them, like myself, we don't want the recognition.
I think that's across the board though, with
Yeah.
a lot of
I
different careers.
don't pat me on the back for doing my job.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
You know what I'm
even
saying?
with that though, I do think it needs to be a pat on the back when someone's doing their job well.
Yeah, and that's why you
know,
up the pace.
Just like with civilians, we have to where we don't see the good things that y'all do because it's stereotyped that all cops bad, no different than they don't see the good stuff that civilians do with police officers because they paint a picture as all civilians are guilty. So I think that relationship needs to change, and I'm stuck in between of how can we.
Well, here's something that can change. Like, if we're going to be honest, controversy does in fact sell, but there's nothing controversial. Obviously, this is not you, and I'm not saying that this is anything that's representative of you, but unfortunately, this took place with a member of your profession, which again is not to hold you accountable for that. But we talked about Officer Chauvin in Minnesota.
Right.
There's nothing controversial about putting your neck,
Yeah, he was
your knee
Yeah.
on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 48 seconds.
46.
Right, 46, excuse me. So,
And I intentionally never say his name.
right, and he's not deserving of the publicity.
No.
But we all know what time it is, and we also know that there would be no quote unquote controversy if stuff like that didn't happen in the first place.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I think the idea of controversy selling, like that kind of paints the media as a scapegoat. Officers do need to have recognition for when they are truthfully, as you have done yourself, as it sounds, fulfill their duties as a public servant, right?
Right.
Okay, but I don't know that, just to the point that we were just making, that accolades is what's going to fix, again, a systemic problem. And the last thing that I'll say, because I really wanted to say this earlier when I was trying to say that we'll have a question, is
Right.
we'd mentioned officers being paid more. And so I'll say this. I've not personally had any negative experiences with the police. I've seen, again, systemically, as I believe all of us have at this point,
Right.
where the problems lie, and you spoke to a lack of accountability. And I have a hard time rewarding people who already are not being held accountable with a higher salary. Although I do agree with you that, that should hopefully weed out the bad ones. But I'll just say this, we've talked about a lot of topics. We did not speak about the quote unquote defunding the police movement,
Oh, yeah.
which I'm a
Right,
proponent of, but in the sense that, because this is what it is that it reallocates funds. So here's an example. Perhaps we don't need tanks, water cannons and such. And the funds that are used to spend on that could instead go towards officers who do well, such as yourself, training,
And more money.
exactly, more money, more officers. It seems like that would.
but so just know, I totally agree. Don't blanket training, and then if you say training, add opportunity, because the training can be there, but if you can't go, then what's the point of having training? Because we don't have enough staff members.
Well, do you think
that can
training
cover.
could be part of the initial training?
Yes,
So,
like
academy and
but it's like being a mechanic.
then on the job.
You can learn what the book tells you and how it goes, but until you're out in the field and you experience it, it's hard for you to understand how to apply it.
Kind of like school, you can understand learning the curriculum.
Yeah, I mean, you can get
Street
good
smarts look different.
grades and everything, man. Miss Tina, she graduated #1 in our class. She didn't make it through training once she left the academy because it's different. I have no problem. I took the TCO test twice, 2 or 3 times.
What's that test?
Oh,
That's the
gonna
test
say.
to get your license.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Texas Commission on Law Enforcement Education Standards.
I know we about to wrap up soon. I just had one more question before we do. I wanted to put you in a scenario that has already happened. If you were a police officer during that riot that they had on the Capitol, how would you handle that situation? It was multiple police officers on the steps at that time when that riot was happening. But when you saw, what would you have been doing? What do you think your mind would have been and what you would have been doing at that time?
The only thing
When you were watching it, what were you thinking? As a police officer.
I thought it was a joke because it just seemed so unreal. Real talk.
I ain't gonna lie, I looked at my phone, I saw it, so I said,
No, really. Like
Yeah,
real
me
talk,
too,
'cause
yeah.
I had woke up from a nap.
Right.
And I woke up to that. I'm like, yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
like this can't be happening in real life.
Right.
And then once it really started hitting me, I'm like, this shit really happening. Like
Right.
like it really took me. Like
And killed the police.
and like so here's my thought process when I'm involved in situations like that. Because we do have certain type of trainings. But I can't use my own personal interests when I have a group setting.
Right.
We all need to be on the same page. So if all of,
But you know they weren't.
I mean, no.
Like when at that ride, you know, like you said, we all need to be on the same page. But during that ride time, you know, those police officers weren't on the same page. They were letting them go through,
we-
do whatever the hell they wanted to do.
And then too, like, so just imagine if Anthony's the sergeant. If Ant tell us, you know what, guys, just let him through. Don't pull out your gun and start shooting. Your sergeant just gave you directive to just let him go through. And you see what I'm saying? Like, cause it's.
But if there had been a group of black people, what do you think the
No.
sergeant's orders would have been?
That's the thing. I don't know the director, so it's hard for
Right.
me to say what I would do.
Circumstantial, you know.
Yeah. Now, so this may disappoint you, but I'm gonna be honest.
It's gonna be
when
honest.
when I have these mass situations and things like that, I don't watch. Intentionally, I don't watch. I didn't watch all of George Floyd. I
Right.
saw what happened and I stopped.
Right.
I read and educated myself on it. But when it comes to these, because it's only because I did it once and I vowed never to do it again. I spoke on something with having limited knowledge, and I was so incorrect. That ain't cool from my position. If I'm gonna speak on it, I need to know.
I need to know about it. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. A lot of people don't
Yeah,
have that
appreciate
mindset.
that
So,
humility.
I'm not gonna speak on
Yeah.
something I have no
And
knowledge.
then,
Right.
but it took me to be incorrect for me to gain that understanding and
Right.
that the importance of knowing that, hey, if you're gonna speak on it, bro, at least be able to, like I say, I know the little dude name.
Hence how you try to do it in class.
And just
And
know,
give a whole
like,
English
A's
lesson
in
on top
language
of that.
I actually wrote them up because I also made that mistake.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't coming from a place of me trying to embarrass you. And like I explained to him, fam, you've been doing this 10 months. When it's 2 years later and you find yourself at the Kroger's parking lot, you tell somebody to get out their car and they say no, then you go to put hands on them and you hurt them, and then they try to file a lawsuit on you and fire you, everybody in this class ain't gonna have your back.
Right.
I said, what I'm trying to tell you is going to help you throughout your career. Don't let the Popo syndrome, pissed off police officer, get involved.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that's what it
I'm gonna
stands for.
start using that as soon as the dude walk up to the window.
Wait, is that
Sir,
really
do
where
you
that came
have
from?
Popo syndrome?
Huh?
Is that really where
All right,
Popo
people
came
Yeah,
pissed off police.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we wrap it up, Shanique, do you got anything that you would like to see law enforcement change? Something real quick.
I think it would just be the community aspect of it, because now, at least what we see on a day-to-day is what's in the media. It's the bad of the police.
Right.
I think it should be more focused on what good they're doing or how they are de-escalating situations in a healthy manner versus the malicious way.
Okay. What about you, Sharon?
Reallocation of resources, better training, and community policing, Shanique said.
Okay.
And a premium on de-escalation and public servitude.
Right.
Public
And
service.
yours probably would be the training, or you had something else you would just like to see your police force change.
Standards.
Yeah.
Standards.
You got
I
something?
would like a little recommendation to join the force.
Oh,
I
boy.
feel like I showed potential.
Don't get your
I told you to put your hands up. You did.
Yeah.
He
And
shot
ready
you
to-
in your ass.
Yeah, you got me.
He made a movement, and I felt threatened.
Oh my God.
Bro,
That
my
should
hand-
be an automatic.
I know that was a cell phone.
That should be an automatic disqualifier.
Right.
You shot me. No.
Mine right now would be not even just mine's more policing, helping policing with the community, but stopping the. I'm sick of hearing the blue lives matter. Blue lives don't matter. We talking about blue lives matter, all lives matter, but we always have a problem when the word black is put in between. So if black lives don't matter, blue lives or all lives can matter. You feel me? So that goes in hand in hand. All right.
See, but when I hear, and I don't mean to cut you, but when I hear
No, be.
when I hear blue lives matter, all I hear is distortion.
Right.
I
hate
but when I say distortion, it's creating a dialogue that's pointless. because let's refocus back on what's important, which is getting this shit right.
Right.
Like fuck with blue
But it
lives
gets y'all
matter.
so amped. Oh,
I
blue,
mean,
baby.
But no, I'm not gonna say all. I'm not gonna say all.
But that's what I'm
I
trying
mean,
to.
I'm not gonna say you,
but
but-
that's what I'm trying to encourage. Don't even give them, man. Type of person I am, is a certain person in my life that called me that I never respond to. Think about that. Call, text, whatever. I never respond to them because it hurt them more that I'm not responding as opposed
There you go.
to because think
You're not
about
giving
it.
them your
Give them ammunition.
In order for them to live, they need me to respond.
Right,
In order for them to, I don't get it.
Keep
So
it.
when they say blue light, that's why I'm telling you, I
Stop giving it energy.
don't
Well-
because
Stop giving it life.
it's distorting and it's distracting us from really mobilizing and getting things right.
Right.
Because instead of now you're gonna deal with this. No, let's stay right here because this is where we're good. No, let's go. Yeah, all right.
It gets to the
blue
point where I start laughing at now.
Yeah,
Certain
and-
situations,
But
I'm like,
aside-
where's Blue Lives here?
In my
They
opinion,
wasn't mad at the Capitol.
the Blue Lives Matter just means the police force. And to me, it's kind of like a team. And, go blue, you know what I mean?
And I'm glad you said that because I didn't think about that. With you just saying that, it reminds me of them. Whoever the thems are, that's not Black Lives Matter, that's what they can hide behind. It's Blue Lives Matter. Because it's, like I say, it's that rhetoric.
But the Blue Lives Matter didn't come into a Blue Life was quote unquote
And-
taken by a black man.
And just know, there's no like propaganda in police departments.
But at least like a lot of policemen like to use the excuse that, hey, you don't know what we got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But dude, you signed up for that.
Yeah, true.
That ain't my problem.
True.
Yeah.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to
with
feel
you.
sorry for a job
I
that
am
you signed
with
up
you.
for, that you had a choice
Right.
to make, and you signed up for
And
it.
just
So don't
know-
give me that, oh, well, you don't know what we deal with. I don't want to hear all that.
Those
Because,
are my
right,
comments.
Uh-huh.
That's
You said that earlier.
that's actually what I say to people.
Right.
Let me phrase that. I say to the other officers while I'm on duty.
Right.
Right.
Oh man, I can't believe. I'm like, fam, they supposed to do that. Like I actually had
A black man don't get a pat on the back for not cheating. That's something you're not supposed
yeah.
to do in your
I
marriage.
actually had a guy who was
Right.
drunk. He was loving me when he thought he was going home, but once he realized he was going to jail, he called me all type of N words and he spit on me. And
That's the ass whooping on top.
yeah, and you would won't, but I just laughed and continued to showcase some of the best professionalism you ever saw.
Oh, let me shake your hand on that.
so-
You spit on me, that's an ass
I
whooping.
would have shouted.
And now, and I say this.
I feel threatened.
This is why I say this, because he was like, "Oh, you ain't nothing but an Uncle Tom," blah blah blah.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
"I bet," put him in cuffs, put him back in the car, And what he was trying to do is get under my skin. And I
Right.
actually had a guy who was like, "Man, if I were you, I would have did this and this." I said, "Fam, that's what he needs you to do." I say, because what that's gonna do is overshadow the fact that he just struck a vehicle and this lady is injured. So now she don't even get the justice she deserved because I couldn't contain myself.
You know what?
I signed up for this. You would have to be one of the dumbest people on this earth as a black man if you don't think some white person that you have to take into custody.
Especially as a police officer.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
y'all are under a freaking
Yeah.
microscope.
Hey, and with that being said, we're gonna end it on that. That's why the hell I'm not a cop. Okay.
I wanna
I
be
would
one.
beat his ass.
I wanna be
But I
one.
appreciate you coming on, man. It was much love, man. You my
Anytime,
brother
man.
for real. You family for real, man. I really appreciate it, and we're gonna have you back on again, actually helping us with laws at a later time, later date.
All right.
I
So
would
you gonna
then-
give me
yeah.
a letter of recommendation?
I got
No.
you right now.
We out. We ain't giving you.
You know what?
that.
We're gonna skip the
Shot you.
application.
Bye.
And you just will come to work
shot you?
tomorrow.
No. No. Hey.
Hey, bro, I got my log ready and everything.
No.
Hey.
You started on the story you're talking about.
We gone, man. Get your ass out. I mean, we out.
Vouch for it. Normally,
Ah.